So what was your experience of finding Montessori as a education philosophy then?
Oh, so really it was all through my daughter. I mean, we visited, I don't know, a dozen preschools. My husband worked funny shifts at the time, so he could have actually stayed home with our daughter. And then, but she was, I mean, she's the only child, so she needed to socialize. We needed her to be, we weren't thinking about education. We were thinking about childcare at the time. She was 2.5. And we visited a whole bunch of schools, and we came upon Faith Academy of Montessori. And it's this little caboose train station school in Webster, right there on the railroad tracks on Gore. And I walked in the door, and there are 30 kids under the age of 6, quietly eating lunch. They had glasses that didn't have lids on, like actual glassware that didn't have lids on them. One child said something out, loud, and another child was like, can you please keep it down? And I was like, what is going on? Like, why are these children acting like adults? And, and then later on they were folding the napkins after lunch. And it was like, these children were so independent and grown up that I was like, sign me up. Like, we want an independent child. This is amazing. And I think just through that experience and getting to know Montessori more, we were all in. We signed our child up. We attended the parent education classes. The head of the school, who I now love, she is part of our family. We are part of her family. I will forever be indebted to her. Her name is Debbie Winter. She's amazing. I am so grateful for everything she has taught us and about humans. Like, she really does believe, she took on the Montessori philosophy of there's so much potential that these small humans have. These are the creators of men. These babies, these infants and toddlers are the creators of men. If we had higher expectations of what they could do at every level, think of what they could actually achieve. She had so much respect for these children out of what they can become. And that is what most Montessorians have. I don't think that's unique to Debbie. I think what's unique is, you think of a preschool teacher of, oh, they're so sweet and loving. And she's pretty hardcore. I mean, she expects a lot out of these young children, but at the end of the day, my child loves Debbie Winter more than any other teacher she'll probably ever have. She's in 6th grade now, and she still says, oh, I miss Faith Academy. And she works so hard, and she learned, they're doing the Pythagorean theorem in kindergarten, and it was mind-blowing. And not because they were drill sergeants. They're definitely not drill sergeants. There is so much love and respect for the human child and what they can achieve, that they're not saying, oh, because the state says you can't, and I don't want to get into politics of education, but there are certain levels or these concepts. Again, it goes back to this idea of these preconceived walls that don't exist. And these children are just sponges, and they just soak it all up, and we shouldn't limit them or say you can't do something. At the same time, there's grace and courtesy in this. Like, we expect them to be kind human beings in addition to achieving great academic skills. It was very holistic, and I think you could pair that with exercise classes as well. Like, it's very holistic. We're not just there to work out. We're gonna enjoy each other's company. We're gonna have a good time. And actually, after class, we're gonna hang out and go on vacation together. Like, it is more than just that. And I think that was my introduction to Montessori. That happened after my introduction to boot camp, and I think it just opened my eyes of, not that I didn't respect children by any means, but I never thought of looking at a child and thinking, I have so much respect for you.
I knew it. I knew there was some reason why you were different, and I'm so glad we've gone down this path. This Montessori concept. Tell me about it. Give me this crash course on how is it that they got children to do glasses and folding napkins. Like, that's so outside of the norm. What is it that they do to instill that in children?
Everything, they start very young, so everything builds on stuff. So at a time when, let's go back to infancy, and I want to preface this with, I am actually only Montessori trained at the adolescent level. Montessori training is incredibly intense, and there are you can be trained at the 0 to 3, the 3 to 6 elementary or adolescent level. So I'm only trained at the adolescent level, so I know that what I'm going to share here is just based on my training. But even if you start back at infancy, you go into a preschool and they're putting them in chairs and locking them down because that's safe, right? Like, if you have to turn away, the child's safe. And that Well, actually, if we just keep them all on the floor, if their mattresses are on the floor, if everything's down low and they are still safe because they're not going to fall off a table or off a chair, they actually have the freedom to move. There's this whole freedom and responsibilities thing that goes on throughout the whole spectrum of life. Of they're trying to develop how to move, and like all these little pieces of their body and how they speak and how they use their hands and their feet, and they're all working independently. And then they come together to work as one. And then you can move on to the next stage of development. So after the child, learns how to move. And if you walk into a real Montessori classroom, you'll see like the mattresses are on the floor, because I don't need to tell that child when they can go to bed or when they can wake up from a nap. If the child's tired, they will actually, if you prepare the environment for them and remove the hurdles, remove the things that are locking them down, but keep it safe. I mean, I'm not saying let's don't take away the safety piece. That is key for any child. But you do need to remove the hurdles and give them a chance to develop. And that development comes at any stage. So then they go into this 3 to 6 year old range. And look, we've already, at age 2, they're already using like shot glasses as baby glassware. So the environment is prepared for them. We're not going to give them an adult glass. They can't even their hands aren't big enough to hold an adult glass, but they can hold a shot glass. And guess what? They're going to spill. They're probably going to spill 100 times until the day they don't spill. I mean, and then it's like, oh, I get it. There's these built-in corrections of if they spill, guess what? They get wet. Like it's self-correcting. If they drop a glass on the floor, we have to clean it up. Like it's just what happens. That's just the matter of fact. You're not giving them a bottle at age 2. You're not.
And so by removing, I guess this is an interesting concept, because if you remove the feedback mechanism for a child to find out like, oh, if I tip the glass over too far, then I get wet. If you remove that by putting a lid on it, then the child doesn't know how far can I tip this glass? And all you're doing is extending the amount of time before they have to come to that realization.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And the same thing. So by the time they're 3 or 4 or 5, using a glass is no big deal. And guess what? If they spill, the spill bucket's right over there. You've already got the spill bucket lesson. Oh, I loved when we got the spill bucket at home. It was I'd take photos of my child using the spill bucket because she'd already gotten the spill bucket lesson. And really, let's be honest, she's not going to do an awesome job cleaning up an orange juice spill on the ground. It's probably still going to be sticky. And when she leaves, I'm going to clean it up again. But in her mind, like, oh, I made a mess. I can clean it up. And there's no preconceived idea of like, I'm 3, I shouldn't have to clean this up. No, it's like, I made the mess. I should have to clean it up. It's my mess. And that's building that independence and awareness for self and courtesy for others in the classroom. And it just builds on that. And even like with writing, like they have them wash the tables, but they have them wash them in this motion, because guess what? When they start doing cursive, which is what they learn in Montessori, they're using this motion. Everything builds on each other. And really, Dr. Montessori, if you read more even about the way she took abstract math and turned them into materials. And it's just, she's a genius. There's so many parts, like I'm going over the life skills basic side of it, but the actual the academic side of it is just mind blowing.
Oh, I'm hooked. You've got me, right? I've heard a lot of people talk about Montessori, but nobody has given me this understanding of it. And right now I have a 3-month-old, and in my mind, I've been like, yeah, I got a good 2 years before I have to start reading these child development books. But now I'm like, oh God, oh no, I got to start now.
Everyone should read The Absorbent Mind. If nothing else, it's written by Dr. Montessori. If nothing else, just to get a better understanding of what is possible. I don't know why we think these children, if this was 100 years ago, children did way more when they were younger than they do now. And I don't know. I think we'd all be better off if we, in every aspect of life, if we took away what is like, here's what's expected, and you don't need to go beyond that, or we don't expect you to go beyond that.
Thanks for checking out this podcast short. If you like this interview, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button and hit that bell so you always get notified about this podcast. And if you're really interested in conversations like this, you may want to consider joining the Articulate Ventures Network. To find out more, go to network.articulate.ventures.